Just making sure I put out the notifications. All right. So, how many of you are aware of, besides the pyramids in Egypt, how many of you are aware that there are pyramids all over this planet? And it's a little weird. There's a great video by a guy named Jimmy, and he has this really cool video about, the theory of a worldwide civilization. And it's a really interesting video, and it kind of got me thinking a little bit more. And I listened to another interesting little podcast about this guy's speculation on what the pyramids were used for. But we're going to first start off with a pyramid that I don't think anybody knows about, and that is the China pyramids. If you did not know or were not aware, China has pyramids. If you can briefly ignore the ads. But we're going to read this article from Ancient Code is the site. I'll make sure to put the links in the bio. But yeah, let's read this puppy out. The Great Pyramid of China, the largest and oldest pyramid on the planet? Question mark. I have my speculation on that, but we'll get there afterwards. The story behind the Great Pyramid of China is beyond fascinating. For years, the government has not allowed proper studies to be performed on the numerous pyramids near the city of Xi'an. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing that. Incursions have managed to sneak into the area where the pyramids are discovered. Numerous anomalies like metallic material which could not be identified by researchers. The pyramids are believed to be over 8,000 years old. So right around the time of Göbekli Tepe. Are the pyramids of China among the largest on the planet? According to many, one of the pyramids, kept a secret for years in China, is so large that the Great Pyramid of Giza seems like a miniature monument. The story of the Chinese pyramid began at the end of the Second World War, when American pilot James Gussman was about to complete a resupply mission to the forces of the Chinese army. Gotta love the irony of that now. Suddenly, a fault in the aircraft engine forced him to return to Asman Base, located in northern India, for safety reasons. He decided to fly at a lower altitude. Shortly after flying over the city of Xi'an, heading southwest, the pilot encountered what looked like a gigantic pyramid. Surprised after making several passes over the humongous structure, he decided to take a number of photographs, which later included a detailed report, which were handed to his superiors as soon as he returned to base. The incident was forgotten among the files of the U.S. Air Force until 40 years later. The Great Pyramid of China was brought back to light through the work of Australian writer Brian Crowley, who published one of the photographs of the pyramid in his book. As a result, It is known that this wasn't the first. As a result, it was known that this wasn't the first time pilots saw humongous Chinese pyramids. In fact, during March, someone needed to get their editor to proofread this a little bit. But during March, I think they mean 1947. Yeah, 1947, when the war was already, okay, yeah, that makes sense. In fact, during March 1947, when the war was already over, the New York Times published an article making reference to the sighting made by Colonel Maurice Sheehan from his plane when he flew over a gigantic pyramid described by Colonel Maurice Sheehan as approximate dimensions of 300 meters in height and 450 meters on each side. I'm not a mathematician. It is noteworthy to mention that these dimensions would make the Chinese pyramid the largest one ever discovered on Earth, dwarfing the Great Pyramid of Giza with a mere 147 meters in height and 320 meters in width. Even more fascinating is the fact that the Great Pyramid of Egypt has around 52,000 square meters. The Great Pyramid of China exceeds the number with a staggering 202,000 square meters. Over the years, numerous pilots claimed to have observed gigantic pyramids in China, and there is a great amount of images taken by pilots and satellites which support the existence of the mysterious structures in Asia. However, inexplicitly, the Chinese authorities have rejected the existence of such monuments. How convenient. In the early 20th century, explorers and traders like German citizen Friedrich Schrödinger and Oscar Mann, I'm not sure, have testified to the presence of not only one, but several pyramids located around the Chinese city of Xi'an. But the mystery behind the Pyramid of China is even more fascinating. According to reports, numerous European excursions managed to take samples of objects and metals around the pyramids of China. Analysis showed that these structures could be well over 8,000 years old. But the most fascinating detail isn't the age of the pyramids. Interestingly, the metallic material present at the pyramids has not been identified so far, since it is made out of materials that are unknown to modern science. I'm going to repeat that last sentence. Interestingly, the metallic material present at the pyramids has not been identified so far, since it is made out of materials that are unknown to modern science. Okay. So here is one picture of the Chinese pyramids. Here's a more up close one. So, you know what? We'll leave it for this one because this is a good one for scale. But think about that. Think about how crazy that is. I don't know how many people out there were aware that China has pyramids. Sorry, brain fart. But you gotta ask yourself and kind of wonder, what does it mean if there are pyramids in China? And if you look, you look at the image. I mean, it's pretty obvious that there are pyramids. It's right there. I mean, look, they look like pyramids. I mean, I think the only difference would be that the way they're built. They kind of remind me of the mounds in North America, which are a whole nother mystery of their own. And and very similar in terms of how were they able to be built. Similar to how were the pyramids built. We still don't know how the pyramids were built. Don't listen to any of the they use levees or elephants or hundreds of people, or they used water and slid it over wet sand. No, that didn't even work. I mean, and we're talking about the pyramids in Egypt. I mean, the quarry for where the stones were taken from was, I believe, over like 500 miles away, somewhere around there. And you could go online and look at the largest Egyptian boat that they have found so far, and one, it could not handle the size of the stones. It couldn't handle it. But the Egyptians are already a bit of a mystery in itself. Whether we take in consideration the library underneath the Sphinx and the catacombs. Spoiler alert, yes, there is an ancient library underneath the catacombs of the Sphinx. The Egyptian antiquities, they're well aware of it. Zahi Hawaii, that cat, shady man, he's well aware of the library underneath. So you got to ask yourself, like, if there are pyramids in China, and I mean, what about, look at the pyramids in Mexico? Yeah, they don't look like the pyramids in Egypt, but they're pyramids nonetheless. But I didn't take time to grab pyramids of Mexico because I think we all know about the Mexican pyramids. They just don't necessarily call them pyramids, even though they are pyramids. But if you look at the pyramids in Mexico, I mean, it's kind of like, and shout out to Bright Insight, because he's the one who made this great video talking about a worldwide ancient civilization. And he made the point that if you were to look at skyscrapers, modern day skyscrapers, if you look at the skyscrapers in LA, and then you look at skyscrapers in the UK, they're pretty much identical. Structurally they're identical. Maybe in terms of design and layout there'll be little differences there, but they're pretty much the same. Just like skyscrapers in India, just like skyscrapers in Shanghai, just like skyscrapers in Sydney, Australia. So if you were to if our modern society just collapsed instantly and there's a new society that starts, new humans, or not new humans, but the humans that survived, they start rebuilding and they get to a point of studying the past, they'll come to the same conclusion, like, oh wow, wait, there are skyscrapers in North America just like there are skyscrapers in India. They must have been a world civilization. So to act like that's not possible now in terms of the fact that there were pyramids in China, I mean, I get it, ignorance is bliss, but like, come on now. I mean, it's pretty apparent. Let's see what else this article has to say. Look at this. All right, look at this picture. Okay. Now this ties into, and I think I'll do a live stream talking about the cities in the Amazon jungle and in Mexico, that when they use LiDAR technology to scan the jungle, they find these massive cities hidden within the jungle. And when they look at the cities from a point of view from above, they look like computer chips. If you've seen a computer chip, I mean, just look at this right here. If we were to look at this picture right here, all right, this composite here, it looks, if you imagine if someone were to hand you that in reality, and you're like, hey, is this like a broken chip from like a boombox or something? And you're like, no, man, those are the pyramids in in China. And you'd be like, what? So like, look, you have the pyramid here, you have pyramid here, and then you have tiny ones right here. Look at all these tiny pyramids. Look. I mean, I can't speculate on what these are, but these little ones here on the far right. Look, you have literally tiny pyramids right here on the far right corner. If you look at the far right corner of the picture, you'll see the tiny pyramids. And you got to ask yourself, like, what does that mean? Isn't that a little weird? I mean, we got to ask ourselves, like, what does that mean? So, if you look to the right, you'll see, you'll see the, hold on, sorry, I scrolled. Oh, look, a color version. But anyways, if you look to the right, you can't see my scroller on the screen. I'll figure that out next time. But on the far right of this composite, you see the pyramids. But like, let's go down. Now look at these are color images of the pyramids in China. Okay, so don't those pyramids look really similar to the pyramids in Mexico? And next time I'll get photos of the pyramids in Mexico so we can do a little bit more of an in-depth comparison. But look, all right, I guess you could say the only difference, and this is why I feel like these have like a bit of a connection to the mounds in North America, because one, the metals that are found there, they don't know what they're made of, so that's one question. But then the other question to me is, okay, so it doesn't look like the pyramids of Egypt. It doesn't look like the pyramids in Mexico. And what's different about these pyramids is that there's trees growing on them. If you look at the second picture, you can literally see trees growing on them. So in my mind, and what I'm wondering, right, is like, are these similar to the mounds in North America? And in North America, they have these massive mounds, and like I said, I might do a live stream talking about them. But the mounds in North America, like, they're built out of dirt. And these Chinese pyramids, to me, and I don't know, for all we know, they could actually be built with stone and maybe metal material, right? And then they were covered or layered with dirt to allow plants to grow on it and what have you. I don't know. I'm just speculating at the moment. But I just find it interesting, one, that if we would be foolish to act as if China has not done studies on them. And the fact that China is refusing to even acknowledge their existence. And like, if you know anything about Chinese history, if you know anything about Mao, that man pretty much went on a cultural genocide and pretty much wiped out so many cultural aspects of China. And we also have to take in consideration that there were, I forgot how many different ethnicities that lived in China, and there were like over 100. and now they're down to like a handful. So we don't know that much about certain aspects of their history. I mean, we'll talk about, maybe next time I'll pull it up, but there are photos of like dark-skinned Chinese Asian people, and next time we'll do a live stream talking about that. But you don't hear them talking about the dark-skinned Asian people. But what I just find interesting, and I think many people can agree with me on, is that it's just peculiar that there are pyramids in China. No one talks about it. Chinese government won't acknowledge them. Nobody talks about it. Can't go anywhere near them. Especially now with the way China is. So I wanted to put this out there for anyone who was curious and didn't know that China has pyramids, because I think it's pretty wild to go through this planet and find out that there are pyramids in China. Lately I've been learning a lot of new information, and I'm a seeker of information. I like to keep on learning, and some of the recent information I have learned has made me realize how much of our planet, our history, our knowledge is just being suppressed and erased from existence. And I don't know about any of you, but I know that we as individuals, as free-thinking individuals, we really got to start questioning these things. And I know it's taboo and considered blasphemous to do your own research, but I mean, you go on DuckDuckGo, do a couple searches, and you'll find some pretty interesting stuff. At least on DuckDuckGo, they don't lie to you. And I just think it's so fascinating. The pyramids, what they could be. And what's even more cool to me is, like, I recently listened to a podcast. Shout out to the Tinfoil Hat podcast. I'm going to see if I can find the name, so in case anyone is interested in listening to it. But this guy, it was about the Egyptian pyramids. So it wasn't about the Chinese pyramids. But I'm going to bring this up now so that if anyone who listens after the stream wants to take a listen. But essentially there is a researcher on here. Okay, here it is. This is the Tinfoil Hat with Sam Tripoli, and it's episode 591, Were the Pyramids Egyptian Chemical Plants, with Jeffrey Drum. Now that's a very, very, really interesting live stream, and I highly recommend you guys check it out and give it a listen. Because I think, in terms of the Egyptian pyramids, I think there is definitely some truth to it. In the podcast, he talks about how they may have been used to make fertilizer, I think. So I think people should really check that episode out. The Tinfoil Hat. It's a really great podcast series. But like I was saying, this whole thing with China, like, imagine if we were able to actually investigate the pyramids in China. Imagine the knowledge that we might be able to uncover. And the fact that they have these metallic materials and they don't even know what they are. I mean, it's no different than what's going on at the Egyptian pyramid. There are these weird mechanical instruments that they have in some of the museums in Egypt, and I've seen videos of it. You could go on to like Uncharted X. He does a lot of breakdowns of Egypt. Brian Forrester. But one thing that's really interesting about it is like these weird in the Egypt ones. It's so funny, we're spending this much time talking about the Egypt pyramids, but anyways, these weird. So note to self to make sure I do want talking about the weird technology found at the Egyptian pyramids. But it's like. There are some speculations that they used sound technology to move the blocks, because there's all this weird technology around the pyramid, and they don't know what it was used for. So even it makes me wonder, like, what is it being used for? What was it used for then? Because we have to keep in mind that the pyramids were already there before the Egyptians got there. There's some speculations that the Egyptians are descendants from the Atlanteans. But that's a whole nother thing. But I think, this just something for people to think about and wonder, like, what are the Chinese pyramids made out of? How were they made? Because as we saw in the photos, and I'll bring it up again, because actually I kind of want to look at these one more time. I want to look at let me see the colored ones. Those are way better. Yeah, look, okay. So, when I look at these, I see, to me, look at the bottom one. And if you look at where the line, where the line of trees on the second photo, left corner, if you look at the line of trees, right, and you see the trees lining up, and then they go all the way up the pyramid, right? When I look at the pyramid, and even the one on the top, like, it looks like a mound. It looks like a period, but a mound period. Pyramid. It looks like a mound pyramid. And I think when I'll do a live stream talking about the mounds in North America and how a lot of them had giant bones in them, and the connection to indigenous Americans, and information that I have been learning recently about indigenous Americans, or how I really should be calling them as Aborigines, but that's a whole nother thing, and I'm not going into that right now, because that would just, nope, not now. But it is an interesting topic. But essentially, pyramids in China. What the hell does that even mean? And side note, so the mounds in North America, they were used as burial grounds. And I did a live stream talking about giants. I'm going to do another one because that live stream, no bueno. They had really bad internet then, but we are good now. I'm going to do another live stream about the giants. But essentially, in that one, I talked about the mounds were these that were essentially burial grounds for what seemed like royalty and important people, but they were giants. They weren't average size humans. And one thing that's a little side note: giants have, instead of 5 fingers, they have 6. So, that's just another little interesting thing to note. But, like I said, to me, are these mounds, because, they're pyramids, but, like, they don't look like the pyramids in Egypt. Because the pyramids in Egypt, they obviously had a functionality to them. And it wasn't burying pharaohs. No pharaoh was found inside any of the pyramids. You can look this up. There's literally a place called the Valley of the Kings where they buried them. So that's not true. They whoever, when they were taught, the history that we were taught in school, fabricated. It's a lie. It's bullshit. Pardon my French. Oui. So, I'm wondering, are these pyramids in China, which look like they're mounds, were these built were they burial grounds? Because, there's, the fact that, giants and their bones have been discovered in North America. I don't know about anywhere else in the world, but I do know that elongated skulls, which were predominantly found in South America, have also been found in Western Europe. If I believe, maybe France, I think. So, there's a lot of interesting things there. But another little thing that I don't think many people knew about, we talked about the pyramids in China. Everyone knows about the pyramids of Egypt. We already know about the pyramids in Mexico. There are technically pyramids in South America, but we'll get into that another time. But did you know, I'm saving the best one for last, but did you know that there is a pyramid in Greece? Fancy that. So let's read this one. Let's see what this article is all about. The one thing that kind of bugs me, and maybe it's at the bottom, but I wish they would put the date of the articles when they were written. Maybe at the bottom. But yeah, there's a pyramid in Greece. I learned about this from, shout out to Jimmy over at Bright Insight. That's where I learned about a pyramid in Greece. So we're going to read this article and then I'll share my thoughts. The Greek pyramid of Hellinikon, God, I need to work on my pronunciations, predates the oldest ancient Egyptian pyramid. Good Lord. All right, let's see what this has to say. Now remember, keep in mind, when we were looking at the Chinese pyramid, they weren't able to determine how old it is. They speculated it, but they haven't been able to do any like carbon dating or anything like that, because the Chinese won't allow anyone to touch it. Okay, so while many are unaware of this, there is a pyramid now in ruins in Greece referred to as the Pyramid of Hellinikon. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. We'll get it right someday. Which, according to studies, is older than the oldest pyramid of ancient Egypt by at least 100 years. And predates at least... oldest pyramid of Egypt by at least 100 years, Djour, which is 2,620 BC, and predates by at least 170 years the Great Pyramid of Giza, Khufu. Oh, okay. 2,550. I don't know if they're saying that Khufu built the pyramids. Come on now. Let's get out of here with that nonsense. Okay. Excuse me. Whenever you hear the word pyramid, we always jump in our minds to ancient Egypt and their supermassive, majestic pyramids. However, despite the fact that Egypt is well known for its three main pyramids at the Giza Plateau, the truth is that there are thousands of pyramids scattered across the globe. All right? Thousands of pyramids scattered across the globe. There are pyramids nearly on every continent on the earth. There are pyramids in America. One day we'll talk about the pyramid in Alaska. But anyways, there are pyramids in America, Europe, Asia, even in India. All right? I don't know why they didn't talk about Mexico. I guess they don't consider those pyramids, but they are. And curiously, one of the European pyramids is located in Greece. I gotta find out about the other pyramid. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. And curiously, one of the European pyramids is located in Greece and is known as the pyramid. Oh God, I'm not saying the name again. It's in Argos, Greece. The Pyramid of Greece, now in ruins, was well described in ancient times as a Pausanias, a Greek traveler and geographer, Pausanias, of the 2nd century AD, who lived in the time of Roman emperors. God, who wrote this? Of Roman Emperor Hadrian, Antonius Pius, and Marcus Aurelius, documented in his descriptions of Greece, referring to it as the pyramid of Helencionio. I'm just gonna call it the pyramid of Argos for now. All right, so this is it. It's now in ruins, but I think when you look at it, you can kind of get an idea. Okay, side note, before I finish talking about before I finish reading the article. Oh man, I wish. So there are structures in Peru, right, that are built. Now here, before I get into Peru, if you look at this pyramid, right, just look at the rocks, right? None of them are the same size. Okay? All right. You know what? What's it called? I'm gonna look it up because this is on my mind now, and I'm gonna look it up. What's it called? Yes. Is this it? No. Nah, it's not Pumapunku. There's a site in Pumapunku that's already a weird one, but it's not Pumapunku. I cannot think of... Okay, not Pumapunku. I can't think of the name of it. Ah, man. See, maybe it... Yes, okay, Cusco, Peru. That's where it is. Okay, let me... Okay, what? Let me... Let me get this for you guys so you can see this, because I need to do this now, because it's I want to show you guys this, because if I don't, let me see, do we got one that's got a little more pictures? Okay. Well, this will work actually. This will work. This will work. But I want to show you the Cusco stones, so you can see the relation between the Cusco stones and the pyramid in Greece. Because I think this is a really interesting observation that I just kind of clicked in my head. Oh God! Hopefully it'll work. No. Okay. Sorry. Let me try again. Nope. Okay, I messed up. Okay. Let me fix this. One moment. But I don't know if anyone has made this observation. I'm sure someone has. But in case not, you heard it first here at Lounge Ronin. Okay. Well, okay, if you can see that right here. If you look at those stones, no, not that. No. Oh God! Don't tell me I'm gonna stop working now. What is going on? Okay, but yeah. All right. If you look at the image of the stones of the pyramid in Greece, right? You look at those. Okay, we're gonna go over to Cusco. Okay. Now look at these. Look at those stones. If you look at those stones, look how they're all oddly shaped. They're not the same size, but look how perfectly put together they are. Alright? These are nubs, but that's a whole nother topic. I ain't gonna get into that right now. But anyways, just look at these are the angled stones in Cusco, and just look at them. They're all different sizes, right? And then you jump over to Greece. And then you jump over to Greece. And look, the same. None of them necessarily fit. On my dog real quick. Okay, they don't necessarily fit. They're all oddly shaped. But if you look, you can see the lines of how they all would connect, and they're all different shapes. So that just makes me wonder, was the design the same type of style of building the pyramids, the pyramid in Greece, was it the same design that was used for Cusco? For these, I think there might be a connection there, but that's just me. But anyways, let's continue reading the article. Let me get back down. Okay. All right. On the way from Argos to Epidaurus, there is on the right a building made very like a pyramid, and on it in relief are rout shields of the Argive shape. Here took place a fight for the throne between Proteus and Acrisius. The contest, they say, ended in a draw, and a reconciliation resulted afterwards, as neither could gain a decisive victory. Interesting. I apologize. You might hear my Mexican in the background eating right now, Pablo, my old Mexican. Anyways, the story is that they and their hosts were armed with shields, which were first used in this battle. For those that fell on either side was built here a common tomb, as they were fellow citizens and kinsmen. Pausanias 225. The pyramid is extremely interesting for a number of reasons, but mainly because its supposed age. If reports are accurate, the Greek pyramid could be older than the oldest pyramid of ancient Egypt by at least 100 years, and predates 170 years of the Great Pyramid of Kipos. I am terrible at pronunciations. In 1938, archaeologists from the U.S. placed the construction of the monument between 300 and 4000 BCE. In 1991, a different scientific team led by Dr. I. Liritz of the Academy of Athens concluded that the Pyramid of Argos was built around 3000 BCE. However, later research by the Academy of Athens and the University of Edinburgh placed the monument around 2720 BCE. Dating measurements were performed by the Laboratory of Archaeometry at the Democritus Research Institute in Athens and by the Nuclear Dating Laboratory of the Department of Physics at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland. Oi. The numbers speak for themselves. If the dates of the construction of the pyramid are correct, it would mean that the Greek pyramid is older than the pyramid of Dusor in Egypt, considered the oldest of all Egyptian pyramids. While incompatible in size to its Egyptian counterparts, the Pyramid of Argos has the shape of a tour with its external sides sloping and surrounding a rectangular building of total dimensions 7,003 by 9,007 meters. The ancient pyramid was built from gray limestone of the area, together with large blocks in trapezoid and partially polygonal system. Now, trapezoid and partially polygonal system. What does that sound and look familiar to? Case in point. So, this is what I'm saying. There is obviously a connection between the construction. I think there is a connection between how the construction of the pyramid in Greece and the construction of the pyramids or the wall in Peru was built, but that's just my speculation. But how many of you guys out there knew that there was a pyramid in Greece? It's so wild. And like, and if I remember correctly, I think the Great Pyramids are built of limestone as well. Now I know limestone has a lot of really interesting properties. Maybe one day I'll look into that. But I just think it's wild to think that there was a pyramid in Greece. And if it was built before the pyramids in the oldest pyramid in Egypt, I mean, you got to start asking yourself, like, okay, what's going on here? Right? What's going on here? I didn't think of it because I didn't really have. I was busy running errands today and I didn't have time. But I should have gotten like the ages of the suspected dates for the pyramids in Mexico and China, and just do a little compare and contrast so we could all kind of compare and wonder. But I'm gonna look into more about the structure because it just seems polygonal. That looks so similar to the wall in Peru, the Cusco wall. So I think there is definitely something there to be uncovered. Now, I did save the best for last because I think this one is wild, and it hits close to home for me, being as I'm a Caribbean brother, and I did. Before I get into this, I will say, if I can find the video of Linda Moulton Howe, if you guys ever get a chance, do some research on Linda Moulton Howe. Very interesting woman, paranormal researcher, UFO researcher. The woman is a hotbed for knowledge. Generation Z podcast and YouTube channel did an interview with her. So check him out as well. But she talked about, before we get into the last one, but she talked about a pyramid in Alaska. You heard me. There is a pyramid in Alaska. Now, I'm pulling from my memory banks. And sorry, I'm having a little session over here. She claimed she was at a panel she was talking, and she claimed that there was this in the 1960s? I think she said it was either in the 1960s or 90s, one of those. Like a special report documentary, kind of similar to what like PBS does. They'll do like those special reports on like one specific thing. It could be a period in time, a moment in history, what have you. And they put out a video, a little documentary talking about the pyramid in Alaska. And she was interviewing a man who happened to watch the special report documentary, and he was absolutely blown away. So he went to his local news station that put out the video, and he was like, hey, I would like a copy of the video report you guys did on the pyramid in Alaska. And they were like, we didn't release any video last night on a pyramid in Alaska. And she does some digging, and she connects us. She ends up speaking with someone who knows about the pyramid in Alaska, and that it's underground, and supposedly I mean, there's also pyramids in Antarctica, but that's a whole other thing. But supposedly this pyramid in Alaska is operational, and that it was able to power like an entire Canadian province. Now, this is what she said. If I can get the video, if I can find the clip of her talking about it, I'll play, and we can do another series about pyramids of the world. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that briefly because I thought that was really, really interesting, and that has just stuck with me because it's like, like if there's pyramids in Greece, there's pyramids in Peru, no, Mexico, pyramids in China. Supposedly there's an underwater pyramid in Japan. I was going to pull that one up, but there just wasn't enough information about it. I mean, it makes you wonder then, and if we were, to look into, the mud floods and the cataclysms and the Younger Dryas impact, there's so many things to wonder, like, it's entirely possible. Yeah, if you look at, God, like Randall Carlson was talking about, like the erosion on the Sphinx, and he was saying that it was caused by, I'm not even going to say that one because I'm not even sure if it was the Sphinx. I have to rewatch that interview that he did with Joe Rogan. It came out recently. It's really interesting. Him and Graham Hancock. So I recommend anyone to check out interviews of Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson. Randall Carlson does have his own YouTube channel, but I can't think of it offhand. But I recently listened to a little clip from a presentation he did talking about the Egyptians and how they knew about the continent of America. So, woo-hoo, who knows what that one's all about. But anyways, to our last pyramid, and I'm excited about this one. So, how many of you knew about the pyramid off the coast of Cuba? I swear, motherfucker. Oops, sorry. I apologize for the language. You better work. Come on, man. Okay, well, let me see if I can pull that one up. Here we go. So yeah, there are pyramids off of Cuba, but to be more precise, there's an entire city, underwater city, off the coast of Cuba. And how many of y'all knew about that? Ay, ay, ay. Son of a gun. Things are being foolish now. you serious? Great. I saved the best for last, and now I'm having difficulties. Typical. Let's see. I'm gonna try something here. So give me a moment. I'm gonna try something here. Cancel. Okay. All right. Well, I may have to save the last one for a special little short stream because I'm having some technical difficulties at the moment for some odd reason. But yeah, maybe I'll save that one just for a short, brief live stream. But to leave you off on a little cliffhanger, there's an entire underwater pyramid city off the coast of Cuba. We will discuss that on my next live stream, maybe tonight. So I'll be live streaming again tonight. Just want to do a little brief one, dip my toes back in, and oh, hey, Mr. Mac is in the building. I hope you've been able to hear everything. But I hope I don't know when you dropped in, but I was just gonna go over the pyramids and this underwater city with pyramids in it off the coast of Cuba. I just got finished talking about, what were we talking about? Greece? Yeah, I think we were talking about Greece. There's pyramids in Greece. Oh, that's not Greece. Oh yeah, I changed it. But anyways, there's pyramids in Greece. There's pyramids in China. All right, no worries. How's the sound? Is the sound good? Can you hear me clearly? But yeah, we were talking about the Chinese pyramid, and I was discussing how I think the pyramid in China are pyramids, but they're built as mounds, similar to the mounds in North America. Beautiful. I'm so happy to hear that. Well, I was talking about the pyramids in China and how I think that they're more like mounds and similar to the mounds in North America. And I think personally that they might be burial sites. However, there is in the article they talk about the metallic metals that are found that they don't know what they are. So, you know, in a general overview, you know, I was discussing how there's pyramids in China, there are pyramids in Greece. Actually, there's one pyramid in Greece, and so far, due to the dating, they speculate that it might be 170 years older than the oldest pyramid in Egypt. I didn't even get into the Bosnian pyramid. Yeah, I think next stream we'll talk about the underwater city off of Cuba. And then we'll talk about the Bosnian pyramid. Because no one talks about the Bosnian pyramid. I know they want to say that it's not a pyramid, but all the videos and the documentary I have watched in regards to the Bosnian pyramid is incredible. There's one, I can't even think of the researcher's name. He's from Bosnia, and he's dedicated his entire life to excavating it. And people have actually joined in. Just regular people have just signed up, because you can sign up and go to Bosnia and help excavate the area. And what's so fascinating about the Bosnian pyramid is people who go there have documented that there's this energy that the pyramid gives off, that people have talked about how they feel really pleasant, they feel happy, they feel fruitful. So there's interesting things about where these pyramids are built and placed in relation to ley lines, but we have to also keep in mind that the planet's axis has shifted and changed over time. So whatever energy that was given off in Egypt, for an example, is probably not there anymore, but apparently it still is on the Bosnian pyramid. And the pyramids in Egypt kind of are similar to the one in Bosnia. And I know that they're, in the article, it's claiming that and saying that the pyramid in China is larger than the pyramid of Giza. But I'm drawing from my memory banks, but I'm pretty sure the pyramid of Bosnia might actually be bigger than both of those. And I'm going to look into, because the article about the pyramid of Greece, they talked about another pyramid in Europe. And I'm going to look into that. I'm going to try to see if I can uncover information about the other pyramid in Europe. But I just find it, it's just fascinating to me, the pyramids throughout the world. And I'm just glad I kind of remembered about the one in Bosnia. I think next live stream I will talk about the pyramid in Bosnia and the pyramid or the underwater city off of Cuba. I think those are two really interesting things, and I might do that later tonight. I gotta work out. I got some other things I gotta take care of, some videos for the channel. But yeah. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Lounge Ronin. I hope everyone has a good night. You may catch me streaming later on tonight. And I hope everyone's having a good holiday season. And this is Kiyosa Ronin Beatmaker. Stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love.